We are in verse number 8 in Surat Al-Naba. So go ahead and read, Ya Malik.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وخلقناكم أزواجا, and created you in pairs as male and females. The word وخلقناكم, it means and we created you. The letter واو wa is a conjunction letter, حرف عطف. The word خلق is the past tense verb, فعل ماضي. The letter na is a connected pronoun, ضمير متصل, referring to God as the subject, الفاعل. For the verb خلق, the letter kum is another connected pronoun, ضمير متصل, referring to people as the object, مفعول به, of the verb خلق.
Okay. وخلقناكم. This one word is of 4 segments. وخلق with a sukun on the qaf. ناكم. الواو is a حرف عطف, conjunction letter, meaning what? If you go back to the ayah, ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا, the query, استفهام. Didn't we create earth as a cradle? Instead of saying ألم نجعل الجبال أوتادا, without the need to repeat the term ألم نجعل one more time, you only need to put what? The واو, حرف العطف. So you bring the same query, استفهام, into the second sentence. The same thing, والجبال أوتادا, ألم نجعل الجبال أوتادا, meaning وخلقناكم أزواجا, ألم نخلقكم أزواجا, meaning. So حرف العطف connects the same استفهام query about ألم into what? The creation of us as أزواج, in pairs. That's wow. خلق, we spoke about it last week. What's the difference between خلق and جعل? For those who were with us last week. خلق means create, creating something out of nothing. جعل means making it in phases. خلق means paying attention to the creator. جعل means paying attention to the product, as what the phase goes with. Right? So ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا, and the first, ayah, look at earth and see how it had to go into phases until it reached a moment to be ready for us to reside on it as a cradle. But here, when Allah is talking about us, although we went into what? Phases. We were teen, turab, we were water, the soul. But Allah wants us to pay attention to who created us out of that. So He used what? خلق. وخلقناكم. So the creation, do not think because earth as a cradle, mountains as pegs, day and night, sama, they don't choose. For the human being, he needs to know that there's a God, fi Rabb. So that it matched more to mention the term خلق instead of what? وجعلناكم أزواجا. It refers more to cultivate the idea of Allah being the creator than you what? Thinking about what phases you went through. وخلقنا, connected pronoun, ضمير متصل, which is what? Talking about who? Allah, الفاعل, the subject. Who is the creator? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إذن وخلقناكم. What's kum? Huh? You. الobject, المفعول به. All in one word. Next.
It originates from the root خلق, which means determination and measurement or smoothness of a matter. تقدير الشيء أو ملاسة الشيء.
إذن تقدير الشيء أو ملاسة الشيء. خلق. They say الخلق في أصله, the creation in its origin, التقدير look, سبح اسم ربك الأعلى. Continue. خلق فسوى ثم قدر أو الذي قدر إيش؟ سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى. These are the 4 phases that a product goes to until it knows where its path. خلق, هداية, تقدير, خلق, تسوية, تقدير وهداية. خلق فسوى قدر فهدى. So الخلق is including to these 4 phases actually mentioned only in the first word. In Surat Al-A'la he يعني spread it out. But here it is enough to mention الخلق to include all these things that والخلق it says it means that there is perfection in it. في إبداع. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says بديع السماوات والأرض, it means خالق السماوات والأرض too. بس بديع من أبدع الشيء, to perfect it the way it is. Next, the word.
The word أزواجا, it means pairs. It's the answer status حال of the verb وخلقناكم. It originates from the root زوجة, which means زوج, which means the comparison of a matter to another. مقارنة شيء لشيء.
طيب. وخلقناكم أزواجا. The answer status is في العربي called الحال. إذا عندك فعل verb, فاعل نا, subject, مفعول به كم أنتم. كيف خلقناكم, how did we create you. دائما جواب كيف حال في العربي بالإعراب. جواب من فاعل. جواب ماذا مفعول به. جواب كيف حال. If you want to study إعراب, they say إعراب is so complicated, it's very simple, but you need to have time. How did we create you? كيف خلقناكم أزواجا. We created you in pairs. For no reason? No. It means everything down to the cell. Every cell is made of what? For people of science. Protons and neutrons, right? If anything that does, that's why malaika, when they are not described as a gender, they do not reproduce. So Allah is talking about the foundation of the continuity of the human species and race based on what? Azwaja. Pairs. And it originates from the root zawj or zain, waw and jim, which means مقارنة شيء لشيء. When you compare a matter to another. And يقال لكل واحد من القرينين من الذكر والأنثى زوج. So even the male is called زوج في العربي and the female is called what? زوج too. Although you would think you need التأنيث زوجة. That's a weak language actually. لغة رديئة هذه. You say جاءت زوج فلان. The wife of someone came. You didn't say جاءت زوجة فلان. Although it's used في العربي, but it is more relevant as a strong reference as زوج, which is the pair. Go ahead for the notes.
Tafseer notes, Azwaja, it can also mean pairs in opposite status like beautiful and ugly, tall and short, and all the opposite types. So each one will be tested accordingly with gratefulness, shukr, or patience, sabr.
Okay, this is by who? This is by Imam Al-Razi rahimahullah in his book Mafatih al-Ghayb, Tafseer. Like, do not limit the idea of Azwaja pairs as gender only, male and female. Azwaja meaning there is the tall and the short. There's the beautiful and the ugly. Beautiful to this group, ugly to that group. Someone might come and say like, who chose this blue color for the carpet? Like, what the heck? Someone will, oh, mashallah, look at this mashallah color. Or you might put perfume or cologne. You love it. And someone like, well, what the heck, what is this? Or colors. People have different perspectives. So the tall, the short, the beautiful, the ugly, all these are included in the diverse way of what? Of Allah chose upon His own wisdom for you to be put into test. Imma shukr and sabr. Our problem instead of looking how to deal with God's wisdom with us as a test, we start complaining. Why I was not couple inches longer, taller? Why I was born to this normal family? Why I wasn't born to a big family or whatever? Why I خلاص, this is أنت عبد, you are a slave and he's a master. This is what he chose for you. What you are tasked with is not to change what cannot be changed, but to change what you are to be tested for. And it is either shukr or what? Sabr. You're either among the grateful or you are among the patient. If you feel there is something that is bothering you, then practice sabr. If you feel that there is something of alhamdulillah ni'mah, then you practice shukr. And trust me, there are way more people practicing sabr than people practicing shukr. You would think the opposite, but it's not. There are a lot of people practicing sabr of having no money, but very few who have money are practicing shukr and doing with money the proper things need to be done. There are a lot of people wishing to go to colleges and universities, that are prominent. But there are a lot of people who have access to go to college and university that are prominent and they're not taking it serious. And the line goes on. So the idea of being tested, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ, Allah tests you with shar the same way He tests you with what? With khair. Next.
There is a shift to the direct addressing language to humans after a general indirect language about matters of creation. In other words, although the first verses were still addressing people by referring to earth and mountains, the language now spoke directly as to how humans were created.
Now this is by Ibn Ashur al-Tahir rahimahullah from his Tafseer book التحرير والتنوير. بيقول لك there is a shift. Where is the shift? Anyone can what does he mean by that? Where is the shift in the language? Exactly. Although the whole ayat are dealing with us, أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضِ, for who did we make the earth? For you. So he's talking to us, right? وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا, mountains as pegs, for you. But then he shifted from talking about universe, earth, whatever, then directly to what? A direct communication to the human beings. وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَنْتُ هَلَّا. Although the first two ayat were reminding the human person, the individual, of what was made in his favor, but now the ayah, أنت مسؤول, you are responsible. وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ. For you to be created, we had to prepare earth as a cradle. For you to be created and live peacefully on this earth, there had to be mountains as pegs to stabilize earth, etc. So he said the shift, there's a shift to the direct addressing language to humans after a general indirect language about matters of creation. Next.
People were made pairs, males and females, for the possible continuity of reproduction and stability in sequence of life.
And this is by Imam Al-Alusi in his book Ruh Al-Ma'ani. The continuity which feeds into what? وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. شو يعني خليفة؟ خلف يخلف. خلف means behind. Khalifa, one comes after another. For this species, for this race, to continue carrying the honor of landing on the truth by a choice as human beings, believing in God, this race has to do what? To continue. One generation after what? After another. So Imam Al-Alusi is saying what? People were made in pairs, males and females, for the continuity of reproduction and stability in sequence of life. That's why any thing that will disrupt this pair, homosexuals or ila akhirih, it is a major sin in Islam because it disrupts the sequence for our own race to stay on this earth. I mean, even the idea of people not having children. Look now, Europe. Why they call it Al-Qarra Al-Ajuz, the old continent? Because the original people are not having enough children. So they're bringing all the refugees in and accepting that. Why? Because they need more people to work, to run the country, to function. So even the idea of not having, that's why the Prophet, what did he say? He urged, يلا خلفوا, روحوا جوزوا خلفوا. Even now, نحن Muslims, we are hesitant. صرنا زي غيرنا. We don't want to have children. No. This is the sunnah of your Prophet ﷺ. فإني مباهٍ بكم الأمم يوم القيامة. It makes me feel proud that I have this number of people following me. So dear sisters and dear brothers, when you get married, it's not about, I have time, وجع راس, money, توكل على الله. Bring children, يلا, خلينا نشوف ولادك. Let us see your kids. I'm serious. I mean, if you walk with 7 kids behind you, فرحت على عزا ولا على فرح ولا عزوة. It's a big thing يعني, walking with 7 شباب behind you. شغلة. ولا تروح وراك واحد. يعني ودهك. خلف. So, for the continuity of reproduction and stability and sequence of life. Next.
Number 9. وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا, and made your sleep as a rest. The word وَجَعَلْنَا, it means and we made or appointed. The letter wa is a conjunction letter, حرف عطف. The word جعل is a past tense
جعل.
verb. The word جعل is a past tense verb, فعل ماضي. The letter na is a connected pronoun, ضمير متصل, referring to God as the subject, الفاعل of the verb وجعلنا. It originates from the root جعل, which means to change something into something, صيره.
Okay. Again, وخلقناكم, but here المفعول به is not mentioned connected. It's only واو حرف العطف, the conjunction letter. جعل, the past tense verb, فعل الماضي, we made you. جعلنا, the na is the connected pronoun as what? As the subject. Where is the مفعول به? The word after that. And the first, in the ayah before, وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ, kum was the object, مفعول به. But here actually the object is what? نومكم. What did we جعلنا? نوم. It's mentioned in another. And again, it originates, now some words are repeated, جعلنا like before, جعلناكم. So we're just going to repeat briefly. It originates from the root جعل, جيم, عين, and لام, which means صير الشيء, again phases. When we read, as we mentioned last time, الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام. It doesn't really mean days. Allah doesn't need time. Allah can say kun fayakun, and that's it. في 6 أيام means 6 phases. Allah can make things happen in a blink of an eye. But for earth to be ready the way it is now to host us, to live on it, it had to go through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, like that. So ja'al means went into phases and to bring attention to the creation so you can contemplate on the science behind it. Next.
The word نومكم, it means your sleep. The word نومة is the object مفعول به of the verb جعلنا. The letter kum is a connected pronoun, ضمير متصل, referring to the pagans, a genitive case noun, مضاف إليه.
Exactly. وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَ, only where the letter mim is with the fatha is what? The object. وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَ. kum, أنتم, مضاف. It's a genitive case noun, means a description to the who is being, made into sleep. So kum referring to the human race or the human species, in which Allah is reminding humanity not just in the earth how it was made cradle, in the mountains how they were made as pegs, in the pairs of creation for reproduction, but for you to sleep, and we will see why. What's the benefit of sleeping? وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ, the next word.
It originates from the root naum, which means being stand still and a stoppage of a movement.
Exactly.
جمود وسكون
حركة. This naum is a phase that comes into the body. I mean, what is the difference of sitting on your lazy boy chair and it is, 10-inch cushion thick, and you could flip your feet down, but if you don't sleep, what will happen? You can fight that one day, maybe 2 days. But after that, you cannot. You have to sleep. And if I don't sleep every day, يعني the needed, you lose it. مخك بيطير. As if this soul, because what happens during sleep? What's the difference between someone sleeping and someone sitting on a lazy boy or on a bed but not sleeping? Something about the soul, we don't know. As if this body, even if you relax it with no movement of muscles, like you would be working during the day, true rest will not happen until this soul goes and stamp with God its click زي الميتر كيف بروح على الدوام and you clock in. This soul to rest, it has to go to God, clock in and come back to the body so you can function. Other than that, you cannot. This is what Allah says in another ayah, الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها. الوفاة here is not just meaning وفاة بمعنى death. وفاة بمعنى استوفت. It finished its task for that day or for that period of time that it lived to. Next.
The word subata, it means a Sabbath of rest or repose. It's the answer status hal to the verb وجعلنا. It originates from the root sabt, which means relaxation and stillness, راحة وسكون.
Exactly. وجعلنا نومكم إيش سباتا. Again, كيف جعلنا نومكم? How did we make yours نوم? سباتا حال. جواب كيف هو الحال. And السباتة من السبت. السبت is to pause, to halt, to stop. يرحمكم الله. And it originates from the root sabt or sabata, which means relaxation and stillness, سكون. وأصله من القطع, to cut something. يقال سبت شعره, قص شعره, to cut his hair. سبت شعره. And Allah mentioned يوم تأتيهم حيتانهم يوم سبتهم شرعا. Right? That's the ayah, right? Meaning what? The Jewish people, they ask Allah a day that they don't work. So He gave them Saturday, right? So Sabt, when they stopped working. And then Allah tested them that on that day the fish started and jumping around of their face. So from that term, Sabt means التوقف, to pause. That's where جعلنا نوم وجعلنا نومكم سباتا. It will pause you, it will stop you, so this soul can travel to God, clock in, get the rest, and come back so you could wake up for the task you have been honored to live another day for, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next.
Tafseer notes, the word subata also means dead. It's related to the term asabtu, which means being cut off. The dead person is being cut off from movement, for sleep is one form of death.
So this is another linguistic application of how to use the term asabt بمعنى death. The same way, linguistically, cut off, توقف, to stop breathing, for your heart to stop, the pulse, it is death. So you can use that too. Next.
Ibn al-Arabi said subata means cut off, and for that it means we made your sleep interrupted, not continuous. For to sleep your need only is of the most beneficial things. Otherwise, its continuity is of the most harmful things.
What do you understand from this? Exactly. Even your sleep has to be cut off to wake up. Too much sleeping is as bad as not sleeping. This is how the sequence of day and night. So even that you needed this clock in with God to sleep so you can, but too much sleeping is also not healthy. I'm not sure about medically, you can, figure that out, but I'm sure if you sleep too much also, it is about laziness. Even وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ ذَاتَ الْيَمِينِ وَذَاتَ الشِّمَالِ, the people of the Kahf. They had to be flipped left and right, because if you just sleep, what happens to your skin? It rottens. If you stay long, that's why anyone who is like, paralyzed or something, they have to bring them a kind of a bed that is made of water, not like a regular bed. So it will be easy on them, and they have to pick. So there's all kind of medical and mental problems that can happen for a long period. That's why وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا. It's not like stopping you from being awake. No, subata means that you have to sleep so you can wake up. So don't keep sleeping. So this is another way to look at the interpretation. Interesting one. Next.
He, God subhanahu wa ta'ala, shifted from relevance to humans' creation to their status of sleep, the most relevant status, compared to death, which is then followed by resurrection, waking up. This can't be free from being an exemplary warning. God chose the verb ja'alna, we made, because sleeping is more related to a status, instead of using the verb to create, khalaqna.
Exactly. He didn't say وَخَلَقْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ. We created your sleep. He said وَجَعَلْنَا. We made it for you. So it will be irrelevant of what? To their status of sleep compared to death, which is followed by resurrection. And this is exactly what the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَاللَّهِ لَتَمُوتُونَ كَمَا تَنَامُونَ. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by God, you will die exactly the same way you will go to sleep. ثُمَّ لَتُبْعَثُونَ أو لَتُبْعَثُنَّ كَمَا تَسْتَيْقِظُونَ. The same way you wake up in the morning, after you are in your grave, that's you're going to wake up for the day of judgment. That's why for a believer, the hadith says, he will feel that 100 years, 1,000 years that he was in his grave. How long was it? Yawman aw maybe like. If I take a person and I put him in a room with no windows, dark room, closed, with no light, with no alarm, with no clock or watch, and he sleeps or she sleeps, how do you know how long you slept? You don't know. It could be 1 minute, and it could be 8 hours, and for you just close your eyes and then you open back again. You cannot measure that. You only measure sleep in the rotation of the day and night, when the earth is rotating around itself, around the sun. So the idea of, وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا, it is the waking up cannot be free from the exemplary warning, which will come after al-libas, actually. وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. So you can wake up to live, but we're not going to get to this now. Last point.
You can see the sequence in listing earth as a cradle, mountains for stability, and sleep for rest. It is as if a reminder to all that subjugated for the well-being of the human race, so they can rise every morning to the honorable task of worshiping God subhanahu wa ta'ala.
All this is made for who? Me and you, human beings. So we can rise for the honor of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to understand that. You as a human beings, this whole universe. هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. He created everything of earth. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored the human race. وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. We carried them on land and on sea. وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا. And we praised them or on all other for one reason. If everything is subjugated to you, then you are purposed and subjugated to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.